Ladies and gentlemen, we are live!
Welcome everyone to MMA Weekly with Austin and Chef Dan on the BX Sports Giant Network. I am Austin. This is my coach, Chef Dan. How you doing tonight, Chef Dan?
I'm doing great. As you can see, if you're watching from the YouTube channel, I have my Knicks gear on because saw in New York today, man. The Mets just won the first game in the Subway Series. Mets versus Yankees. We won that. Let's go Mets. But all in all, I'm ready to, dive into this MMA and what happened over the weekend and looking forward to what's coming up this next weekend because it's championships, baby.
Yep, championships. That's a great way to put it for next week, this upcoming weekend. And I apologize for my voice. I've been a little under weather, so my voice at times may sound odd, or off during this broadcast. I do apologize for that. But nonetheless, I'm here, and I'm here to break down these fights. Before I do, just want to mention we do have podcast platforms. Want to shout them out. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor FM, Reason FM, etc. We want to give love support to all those platforms. And thank you for those of us who listen to us through there or watch us via YouTube or Rumble. We appreciate the love and support. And let's get into what happened last weekend in the world of MMA. We'll start with Bellator since Bellator was first last weekend. And in Bellator, the main event was Jason Jackson, Douglas Lima in the welterweight division. As Jason Jackson wins this fight via unanimous decision, 54-45 all judges scorecards, and there was the correct call. Jason Jackson was able to just control Lima and take him down. Douglas Lima had no answer for his takedowns at all. It's starting to become a trend with Lima. I've noticed his fights where he gets taken down but can't fight off his back or has a hard time getting up. I think the greatest example of this is Rory McDonald back in the day when Rory took up the title off him. When Rory had a bad leg too that Lima was messing up, Rory took him down the fifth round and was able to do enough damage on top to steal that round, to win that round and win the title from Douglas Lima. And unfortunately, that's still an issue he still has. In some of his fights, he has to take it down. Sometimes he gets too comfortable. That's the right word. Yeah, it gets too comfortable or has a hard time getting up, and sometimes he does the thing that Big John, if you're listening to weighing in, Big John McCartney or the commentating, Big John mentions where he puts his legs together and almost like settles into bomb position instead of like pushing his leg up, trying to push legs on the opponent's hips to try to escape. It seems like Lima has a bad habit of doing that, and it's cost him in some of these recent fights. This fight, the Amsterdam fight, when he lost the title, and I mentioned Roy McDonald back in the day, and it came out by Lima here. Jason Jackson is able to take him down, just control him for all the fight basically, And good performance for Jason Jackson, but not a great performance for Douglas Lima.
I agree with you 100%. We're learning every day. Not every day, but every time an MMA fight happens, we learn something. And as we start to collect more and more data, we see not only what works, but what doesn't work, what should be something to get you to something else, and what shouldn't. And regardless, I think of regardless of whether you're a fighter or you're a fan, I think if you're a fan and you're watching the sport, you can call out something and see that it doesn't work, and you don't have to be a fighter. And being on the bottom and having your legs in the body triangle does not work. It's not something that gets you to, it the only thing that it can help is it helps you gauge at what point should you disengage that body triangle to kick off your opponent's hips. That's the only thing it should do. But if we like nowadays, we know as fight fans, I'm telling you, we know it. If you put the body triangle on with your legs and you're on bottom, you're settling. That means either one of two things. You think you could win the fight from the bottom, which is a very, very rare occurrence, or you don't know how to get up off your back. Because the one thing we know, like regardless of whether a guy knows how to get off his back, the one thing we all know that a fighter should have on the bottom is a sense of urgency.
Yep.
That's the only thing they're looking for. If you can have some sort of sense of urgency and the guy is still able to keep you down, hey, he's that good of a grappling artist. But if you hold on to that body triangle, there's no sense of urgency. And that's what I saw, and this fight was completely unentertaining. So, yeah. It was no sense of urgency.
Absolutely right. No sense of urgency for Douglas Lima. And it made the fight not entertaining. It wasn't the most entertaining fight at all. And that sucks since it was a main event for, a Bellator show. And it was also a chance for someone to hold the title. Possibly fight for the title, potentially. And it didn't exactly do any Jason Jackson any favors either. Not in my eyes. I mean,
this fight was a dud. This fight was a dud. I'm gonna keep it honest with you. This was not entertaining, and you could take the rest of this segment as far as breaking down the fight, but I don't want to speak on this fight anymore. It's just that bad to me.
Yeah, and hopefully for Douglas Lima, I can address that issue eventually, because this is a guy who was on top of the Bellator welterweight division, a guy that we all wonder how we do against other UFC welterweights, how we do against certain guys, and can't take it down, not getting up, and putting yourself in a triangle on bottom, body triangle, and not have a sense of urgency. It's not going to do you well, especially against guys who know how to grapple and take you down, hold you down. So yeah, that's something he's definitely got to work on, and yeah, that's all I have to say. We can move on to the co-main event, which was very exciting. It didn't last long, but it was exciting as as Tofik Musayev knocks out Sidney Outlaw in his first round, 27 seconds in the first round. That was shocking. I know Tofik had powers. He had a lot of knockouts going in, but I didn't expect that to knock Sidney Outlaw that quickly. And go ahead.
And I was saying I wasn't expecting that either, but you saw it from when he caught him with the what was it? First it was a left hook that wobbled Sidney Outlaw, like wobbled him bad, and he tried to shake it off a little, but when your legs do the chicken dance, your legs do the chicken dance. You chicken dance, his hands didn't go back up, and then Tofik came right behind that with a right hand that just put him down, and that was it. And I saw Sidney Outlaw trying to contest that. I don't know why. That was a clean knockout, brother.
He was out, yeah. You mentioned he was doing the chicken dance. His legs were all wobbly, and Messiah dropped him, and then once he dropped it, he had several shots in the bottom, and then it was it. He was out. I mean, it was obvious. You go back and watch this fight. Sidney was clearly out. So there's no reason why you should be arguing that. It doesn't look good to argue that stoppage for Sidney Outlaw. It was kind of clear knockouts.
I'm getting to a point where I agree with you. In a certain point, I agree with you. It does not look good for him because it's you kind of look like a sore loser. But on the other hand, all these guys are fighters. And how did they get here? They got here through a certain mentality. And that mentality is, to try and break the opponent before the opponent breaks you. Sometimes your body is breaking down before before you're mentally accepting that, hey, this guy is better than you. And that's what I think is, get certain fighters in that predicament. Is when the mind is saying, hey, I want to continue, but the body says no mas. And that's something that, when the referee sees those signs of the body saying no mas, that's when, he comes in for your own protection. So as bad as it looked for Sidney Outlaw, I think that should be very typical of every fighter.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it should be typical for every fighter, and I can't really be mad at Sidney Outlaw for having a reaction because he's a fighter. Fighters fight their way through. They're used to facing adversity. They overcome everything. The mind's willing, but the body's not. Basically,
the mind is willing, but the body is not. Yeah.
It's I forgot. It's the same like that. I believe I could be wrong.
That's for something else. That we'll talk about that when we're rated TV 14.
Exactly. Yeah, I know you do. Yeah, but I was thinking that context, but still, yeah, he wanted to concede, but his body couldn't. He was out, and then the referee saved for more damage. But this was a great victory for Taufeeq Messiah. This is his first fight in Bellator. He came from Ryzen and had success over there, and actually has a victory over the current Bellator 155 champ, Patricky Pitbull. So that made this fight even more intriguing, considering Outlaw was supposed to fight Patricky before getting injured, and Taufeeq has a victory over the current champ, and Taufeeq is able to capitalize in Bellator, able to knock out number one ranked guy in less than 30 seconds. And I do want to talk a little more about what might be next for Taufeeq, but I think we have to also mention what happened before this fight with Usman Nurmagomedov. For those of you who didn't see, Usman Nurmagomedov won his fight against Chris Gonzalez via first round guillotine choke. Very great victory for Usman. Dominant victory. Gonzalez went for a takedown, but Usman quickly turned to a guillotine choke. Very impressively too, how quick he did it. And I have an image right here, and it was tight, and it got a little tighter after this image. And for those of you who are listening to our podcast, I'm showing the image of the choke. And once Usman got on, Gonzalez had no choice but to chap too. And he did it against a credential wrestler too. Trains at Alpha Male, a lot of wrestlers over there. So really impressive for Usman Nurmagomedov. And Usman called for the title shot against Patricky Pitbull, considering it was time. But then Taufeeq Messiah goes out there and wins his fight, who has a victory over Pitbull. So it's like Bellator's in a dilemma. Do you give Usman a title fight, or do you give the guy who already has a victory over Patricky the title fight? But also, Taufeeq mentioned that he's willing to fight Usman for a number one contender fight, which is not a bad idea. We think about Patricky is going to be out for a long period of time. Supposedly November he might be returned. That's what I hear. I'm not sure, but if not longer. The Usman and Taufeeq fights, I want to see it now. That intrigues me.
That would intrigue me. Not only that, but if Bellator was daring, if they were able to make a bit of a gamble, I would possibly make that be the headline of a card. Let that go 5 rounds to see who gets the champ. The champ's going to be out for a while. We could get this done early, let them rest. By the time the champ is ready to come back, he's probably going to need a training camp as well. So we shall see. We definitely shall see. That I'm interested in that matchup right there.
Yeah, especially considering this would be a toughest fight for Usman, considering Taufeeq's got a pretty good resume and got I believe I'm trying to remember Tawfik's record now. I think that might have been his 12th knockout, I believe. No, I think it might have been more. I think he had a lot of knockouts going into this fight with Sidney Outlaw. As Dan looks at the his how many knockouts in his record, I was gonna say Tawfik Musayev's never fight from Azerbaijan, same country as Rafael Fiziev from Central Asia and the Caucasus Mountain region. Another one rising, coming through the ranks and making an impact in the major MMA promotion. That's
his 9th knockout.
9th knockout. I don't know why I thought I had more. I'm confusing him with someone else, probably. That's probably what it is. 9th knockout, so yeah, it's definitely a good test. Good test for Usman and for Tawfik if the Tricky can't return soon. I heard maybe November, who knows? But after seeing this, I want to see Tawfik and Usman fight for #1 contender fight. I like your idea of 5 rounds. It should be 5 rounds because we never seen Usman go past the 2nd round, and I like to see how Usman handles that and how Tawfik handles the 5 rounds as well. It's a great idea. I like that idea. And probably will be 5 rounds if those two are fighting. Probably a main event.
Yeah, that's something that definitely should go 5 rounds.
Can't wait. And what are your thoughts on Usman's performance against Chris Gonzalez real quick?
It was what I expected. I mean, first of all, it's Chris Gonzalez who's initiating the grappling sequence on Usman Nurmagomedov. And that just speaks volumes to what was going on preceding that shot. As far as the stand-up game, Usman was completely one step ahead of Chris Gonzalez always. So for him to force for Usman to force another guy to say, "Hey, I want to grapple with you," that lets you know it was his night already.
Good point. Yep. That's true. You don't see many guys initiate off grappling with Nurmagomedov. Whether it be Khabib or Umar or Usman, yeah. That shows, how much better the stand-up wise Usman was compared to Chris Gonzalez. And you could definitely tell watching it. Usman's got very good stand-up. Probably the best stand-up of all the Nurmagomedovs. Probably of the Khabib, Eagle MMA crew. He might have the best one. Him or Islam. It's debatable between the two. What's the best stand-up?
I think he's better than Islam.
Yeah, I think I might agree with you. I gotta agree. Watch Islam stand up again because
here's the crazy part. If we're saying stand up striking and that includes punches and kicks, you gotta have as far as the crew, it's Usman, Umar, Islam, because both of these guys, the level of kicking they provide is Islam is not providing anything like that in either the punches or the kick. So they're providing elite level of kicking ability and what they can do. And then, as far as the punches and combos and things, you see them starting to level up versus Islam. Islam is more like he's well-rounded. He's perfectly well-rounded where he has enough striking to get it to the ground. He has enough ground to either submit you or go to ground and pound. And he has enough of that to make you want to push him back up into striking. But then he has enough striking to get it. You see, it's all a complete cycle in where he mixes the martial arts.
Good point. Yeah, fair points. All that. You're right. And for the kicking aspect, take that all that in. Usman might have the best striking of everyone that will be Eagles MMA crew. Good point.
I just think I would put him above Umar only because I think the striking with the hands is a lot more further ahead than Umar is.
I agree. That's a fair point. I see where you're coming from. Yeah, by the way, Usman's very, very fun to watch Usman fights. I can't wait to see him fight. Whoever fights next will be Tawfik Musayev or whoever he fights. I'm excited for. Can't wait. And the fight before that was a welterweight fight between Muhammad Burkamov against Lorenz Larkin. Another fight from Dagestan with Muhammad Burkamov, and this fight ended in no contest as Lorenz Larkin threw a legal elbow, unintentional, in the back of Muhammad's head, and it clearly landed. It clearly landed. It wasn't intentional. You could tell because Lorenz was trying to throw it at angle where it wasn't 12-6 because unfortunately 12-6 elbows are illegal in MMA. And much as I don't agree with that, but I can go 15 minutes about why the thumb rule, but I'm not gonna do it tonight. Anyway, Muhammad Berkamov was controlling him with the wrestling. You could tell he wanted to wrestle and grapple with Lance Larkin. Keep it. He knew he had a clear advantage over Lance Larkin there, but and Lance Larkin was trying to defend. That's where he drew the elbow. Wasn't trying to elbow him in the back of the head. He was just trying to elbows to get Muhammad off him or to present a threat to Muhammad. And unfortunately, it backfired and hit in the back of the head. And Muhammad Berkamov said that I think he said that that the room was spinning. I think that was a quote that the translator translated to the referee. So, I mean, once that was called, the fight was stopped, and unfortunate ending to the fight, considering Muhammad Berkamov had success outside Bellator, and Lance Larkin's done well in Bellator, so it's two very, talented fighters, and it didn't end the way we want to see it. It sucked, and hopefully Muhammad can recover, and it won't be too serious if we can see him again. I don't know if they go a rematch or maybe do something else, but
they're probably gonna do something else. This fight doesn't call for a rematch. It really doesn't.
Yeah, it's true. I see what you mean because not a lot happened. I see what you mean.
This isn't something where I'm not even gonna lie. We do for the love of fighting and wanting to see everything, but we also got to know at the end of the day, both Bellator and the UFC, they're businesses that have to meet a bottom line. So if you're telling me that you're going to advertise Lorenz Larkin versus Muhammad Berkamov 2, and I'm supposed to be enticed by that, I don't know what highlight tapes you're pulling from this first fight.
Yeah, that's true. Like I said, hopefully Muhammad can recover and then he can, won't be too serious. So, yeah, it's unfortunate, and I'll tell you this: at least it wasn't like I don't know. I was watching that fight, I was thinking, at least he's not going overboard like freaking that one guy Alvarez fought and won. If you remember, I forget.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I don't remember the guy's name, but I remember that whole charade. Was it Was it Koscheck?
No, it wasn't Koscheck.
It wasn't Koscheck.
That was another. I think he did that to another fighter, but it was Eddie Alvarez who won. I don't remember who it was, but remember how his reaction and people were just roasted him. Including Cormier. I mean, Cormier hilariously did it when him and Eric used to do the show. But yeah, at least it wasn't like that with Muhammad Berkamov. I mean, it was a legit elbow that really that landed in the back of the head, and if you get in the back of the head, it can really mess you up. So, so at least unfortunately for him. So, like I said, hopefully he recovers quickly, and yeah, we'll see what's next for Lance Larkin. And the first fight in the card was Marcelo Gome versus Davion Franklin. And Marcelo Gome wins via rear choke in the third round with 24 seconds left.
And Marcelo Gome was gonna lose this fight.
He was.
He was definitely gonna lose this fight.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
Davion Franklin in the first round slammed him twice. At one point, it looked like he was doing like a fireman's carry, like a fireman's suplex, because Marcelo was going for a submission. Franklin picked him up and was like slam him like this, like a fireman's carry in wrestling. And twice he slammed him. I was like, which I always enjoy a good slam, especially heavyweights, where I feel like it's more impressive heavyweights because the person picking up is a big dude and slam him. It's like, damn. And so Franklin did that. Also, Franklin was piecing him up too several times, and it's actually the elbows in the clinch where there's a big cut on Gome's eye. Especially, Gome was going for the grappling a lot in clinch, and Franklin at times, good amount of time was making him pay with elbow strikes and clinch strikes. There's a point where Franklin took him down and landed some ground and pound that opened up the cut again on Marcelo, and Marcelo reversed position, but Franklin reversed that position and got on top and landed some good ground and pound in the second round. So Franklin was winning this fight 2-up, 2-0, and looked like Marcelo was in world trouble, but Marcelo kept going, kept pressing forward, and as Franklin was starting to get a little tired, Marcelo was able to initiate the clinch, get him more tired because Franklin a lot of times was moving backwards, and they say it's so tiring to move backwards a lot. And on top of that, Marcelo was going for the clinch, and Marcelo was able to take him down. Once he took him down, he was able to work a rear naked choke as Franklin was exhausted after dealing with the clinch work, getting the clinch, being in the clinch, and also moving backwards, and he got the rear naked choke. And a very, impressive comeback victory considering how much damage Marcelo took in those first 2 rounds, especially the first. Well, both rounds really. They both he got attacked a lot, especially that cut.
He got pieced up a lot, and I think the one thing that kind of it was a good move to win the first round, but he paid for it in the third round with Davion Franklin were the slams that you mentioned, because watching him just tire out, especially in the third round where all he kind of needed to do, he could have lost that round. He could have completely lost that round, and he still would have won this fight, and he would have won against a Marcelo Goldy that everyone in Bellator has been hyping up as the next new prospect. But even after Marcelo Goldy walks away with this victory, if this type of performance is what you're going to bring up against a guy in Ryan Bader, brother, you got a long ways to go.
I totally agree. There. You got a long ways to go. Definitely him or Modolski. I mean, those guys, yeah, they're gonna beat you up. I agree 100%.
Long way to go.
Totally agree. Got to work on the defense, striking defense, for damn sure. But yeah, good victory for Marcelo Goldy. That comeback victory. But I totally agree. Anything else you want to mention before we move on to the UFC London card?
No, that was pretty much it. Was there anyone in the prelims? Nah, there was no one really that stood out to me. Some of the prelims finished early. There was some impressive finishes by Ahmed Magomedov and Roman Feraldo, things of that nature, but no one really stood out to me in the prelims, but they were enjoyable to watch.
Okay. Well, that was your Bellator 283 recap. As we move on from Bellator to UFC London on this past Saturday, at the main event between Tom Aspinall and Blaydes. As unfortunately, this fight ended too soon. It was due to an injury. Once again, a main event of a fight night. A good fight night, too, a big one, ends with a freaking injury. I mean, damn it. Sucks, too. Because it was 15 seconds, but a lot happened. They were going at each other immediately. I mean, Tom Aspinall landed some leg kicks, some good leg kicks, and Blaydes was throwing his hands. Aspinall landed a couple of shots. Blaydes landed some shots, but Tom Aspinall drew a leg kick, and it wasn't checked. I watched the fight. It was not several times.
It wasn't checked. There was no checking. He just threw it, and when he landed on it, that's what happened.
Exactly. It wasn't Anderson Silva, of course, Wyman, Uriah Hall, where it was checked.
Or Conor McGregor, where it was checked. None of those things happened. It was just him just stepping weirdly. Not even stepping weirdly. He stepped like you watch it and it goes, yeah, he stepped back correctly. And as soon as he, I think it was just one of those things where he maybe was going to bounce off of it to throw another kick. But he threw so much torque in from trying to land and bounce off that he just gave out or something. But it was, oh my gosh, that was deflating.
That was so deflating too. And especially for that crowd in England, which, I know Paddy Pimblett got a hero's welcome. He's definitely one of the names that they came to see. But Tom Aspinall was definitely right up there with Paddy Pimblett. I think those were the two guys that they were most wanted to see, that crowd in London. Those two, and then Molly McCann number 3. That's who it was. And, the whole Tom Aspinall chant they were doing before. And for Aspinall and for the fight to end like that, it was just deflating. It sucked because we went through Ortega and Yair last week with the shoulder of Ortega. Now Aspinall gets a freaking knee injury too, and it's just like, damn it again. And also kind of like Rakic got a leg injury several months ago, No, granted, that was more of a check because Jan was checking some of his kicks, but still, Rakic gets injured. It's like, damn, 3 main events in the last 2 months and the injuries, and that's now anyone. No one wants to see a fight end with injuries. No one does, and yeah, for Aspinall, hopefully it's not too serious because Aspinall was a guy who a lot of people, including myself, thought if he had beaten Curtis Blaydes, he might skip Jones and Stipe and probably get the Ngannou fights just because of the activity and the hype, and he's got a nation behind him, and also he's being elite competition, but that's not going to happen. He might be out for a while. Hopefully he's not too serious. I still don't know at the moment how long he's going to be out for. I'm pretty sure he's going to get surgery. I just don't know I don't know what ligament he's going to get surgery on, or be ACL, MCL. I have no idea at the moment.
I mean, he was good enough that I just want to say he was, well enough that he was able to have a drink with Curtis Blaydes after the event. So that's good for those two. They were cordial with each other. And Curtis Blaydes said it, man. He shared the same sentiment that we all had. It's that you don't want a fight to end like this. This is terrible.
Yeah, you don't. You definitely don't. It's terrible. And yeah, and Curtis Blaydes and Tom Aspinall were very cordial the whole week leading up to the fights. They were very respectful, cordial, no bad blood. It was and then afterwards, them drinking the beer together. There was also a clip online where Molly McCann was singing to them. I think they were both drinking. It's Molly was trying to cheer him up, obviously.
Yeah.
But Tom seemed to be, for a guy to have a devastating injury, he seemed to be a better mood than a lot of people expect. I thought I didn't think he'd be in that. I'm not saying it was a great move, but he wasn't Debbie Downer, rightfully so, because that's a big injury, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, them's the breaks. That's what kind of happens when you enter the fight game, or when you enter any sport, really. It's just that any day you can injure yourself doing anything. I even remember hearing a report, just, to cross-reference in sports, but John Wall, who's recently just got signed to the LA Clippers, he tore his Achilles at home. No one knew what he was doing. No, you could never know what you're doing. You probably go to reach up in your cabinet to go get something, and out of nowhere, bang, you get that feeling. At any moment, it can happen. So them's the breaks. I think Tom was a big boy about it, but it was just like you said, watching the first 15 seconds. You knew that these guys were willing to throw at each other, and this was going to be an exciting fight. And we really, really needed this excitement because prior to this fight, Austin, we just got to get into it. Prior to this fight, Jack Hermansson versus Chris Curtis. Jack Hermansson wins the fight. Unanimous decision. I have no qualms about the decision. The right man won the fight. Jack's plan was a plan, you could say that in essence, he did the winning plan, I guess, as far as moving away. It was a clean striking performance by Jack. It was very clean. Was this the most exciting matchup? No, I don't think this was the most exciting matchup at all.
This fight frustrated me, not because of what Jack did, but because of Chris Curtis, who if you listen to me, I'm a big Chris Curtis guy. Very high on him. And I thought he was going to win. I thought he was going to be in the top 10 ranking, but it wasn't the case. And Chris Curtis loss was a lot of his own fault because Chris Curtis wanted Jack to stay in the pocket or get in the center outlet and engage, which Jack was not going to do because he knows that Chris Curtis got dynamite in his hands. It can knock a dude out. So we've seen it knock out Phil Hawes and Brian Allen. And also before the UFC, he was knocking guys out before. So Jack knew that. And Jack, was moving a lot and without striking Curtis. It was first of all, I didn't expect Jack to do that because Jack is very, very good, talented grappler, but his striking, he's not exactly known for that. I mean, it's not like he's got elite striking at all. No one ever considers him an elite striker, but he showcased very good striking, moving a lot of movement, moving backwards, but actually tagging Chris and actually hurting Chris to the point where Chris was rocked in the second round, and Jack could have probably finished Chris Curtis because he landed a body shot too that led to leaving Chris open to where Chris got rocked. And I don't know what Jack Hermansson was doing. He was doing some weird elbows. You know what I'm talking about, right? In the second round where Chris was in the cage covering up and Jack was throwing these weird elbows like this.
Yeah, no, those are the all right. Like because the 12-6, 6-12 is illegal. Sometimes the fighters, what they do is they're gonna poke their elbow out and then move forward, jab forward with it.
Yeah.
So it's essentially it's not on the clock radar movement. It's kind of like 6-6. That's it. You just moving forward with it.
Yeah, but it made no sense. Like why don't you just throw punches? Considering punches would have more likely landed. Those elbows. He was doing elbows like this as well, like diagonal, and none of them were landed. It looked terrible. It looked bad. I'm like, oh Jack, come on, you could have finished Chris, but I mean I don't know why Jack did that. That was kind of ridiculous. But Jack overall in the stand-up did very well. He also Chris Curtis stuffed all three Jack's takedowns. Like I said, Chris Curtis' takedown defense is pretty good. But against grapplers, I mean, we see stuff all Vieira's takedowns. Rafael Vieira is a very great grappler, very decorated too. And like Jack hurt Chris several times later, so several body shots. But Chris hurt Jack as well, especially in the third round. He did hurt Jack with some body shots and hurt Jack as well. Some shots to the head, but couldn't capitalize. And at the end, Chris got angry, gave him the finger, and Jack correctly got angry and said, F you, bit. F you. I forgot what he said afterwards. I know he said F you.
A P word, yeah.
Yeah, rightfully so. And it got heated at the end with those two. But Jack Hermansson did in my opinion, a very good performance by him. And I gotta give him credit. Showed better striking than I expected. And Chris Curtis, I mean, you gotta do better. You gotta engage him a little more. You gotta cuff the cage as well. You didn't exactly cuff the cage where Jack was moving backwards. I mean, a lot of this.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of not cutting off the cage from Chris. And another thing is, you gotta go back into the gym and learn to mix some of the martial arts, because a body kick or a leg kick would have changed the complexion of this fight from the very first round.
I'm glad you mentioned that. That's what I mentioned. You should have leg kicked Jack Hermansson. There was times where Jack's leg was open to be leg kicked with stance, and like I mentioned with Bilal Muhammad and Luque, the best way to stop someone's movement is leg kick them, especially if the legs are open. And Jack's legs were open. Chris Curtis didn't leg kick him at all when it was right there, and then that's something he should have done. And that definitely cost him. That definitely hurt him in this fight, not leg kicking Jack. But yeah, good performance by Jack. I know Jack and Chris made up, and they squashed their little issues. All good for those two now. But yeah, good performance by Jack. Jack Hermansson wants to return for the Sweden card because they're going to Sweden in November, and he trains out of Sweden. I think he lives there, so it makes sense for him to probably be a headliner there against probably maybe someone like Jared Cannonier in a rematch. Considering those two fought, several years ago, or maybe. Go ahead.
There could be a possibility, but then again, after a performance like that, I wouldn't be surprised if they make Jack either they put him on the main card or make him a co-main event, because I wouldn't want to watch 5 rounds of that, man.
It depends on who he's fighting, though.
Yeah.
My thing is this: who else they gonna put? Because Hamzat's fighting Nate. I don't think he'll do that quick turnaround to main event. The Sweden card, also Gustafsson, which we'll talk about Gustafsson. I mean, I don't know if he's gonna be in the main event. Although, despite his legacy with Swedish MMA, that's why I say Jack possibly in the main event. But we'll see. But I do want to mention. Actually, never mind. We'll move on to the next fight, which is Paddy Pimblett against Jordan Leavitt. As Paddy wins this fight, second round rear naked choke in 2 minutes 46 seconds, and he teabagged Jordan Leavitt. He lived up to what he promised. I see an image of the submission. It was a very good submission because he trapped Jordan Leavitt's right arm, as you see in his picture, with body triangle with his own leg, as you see here in his picture. And once Jordan Leavitt's arm was trapped, it was basically beginning the end because he had one arm to defend himself, to defend the choke, which someone like Paddy Pimblett need more than one arm to defend submission from someone like Paddy Pimblett, who's got very good jiu-jitsu. And this was a good performance, and I'll let you break down, talk about this fight more, Chef Dan, because this is your boy.
Nah, it was a great performance by him. The only thing that was kind of annoying was I don't see how anyone. There were a lot of people that was giving Jordan Leavitt the first round, and I didn't see where they were giving him the first round because I think Paddy outstruck him. I think Paddy's strikes were cleaner. Jordan Leavitt, yeah, he was aggressive on the grappling, but I don't think he was aggressive in trying to get the submissions. He kept trying to fight for position because Paddy's defense was so great that he could never even establish a position. So when you get to that point, it's like, all right, like, what are you grading it on? I didn't understand for what reason that people were giving Jordan Leavitt that first round. It didn't make sense to me, but Paddy definitely, he looked like the cleaner striker, which he knew he was. But then when it came down to that second round, man, as soon as that arm got trapped, it was like, wow, that's it. That's it. I knew it was over. As soon as I saw that arm getting, they were tussling about, and then he ended up where he was pressing that arm, I said, nope, Paddy knows better. He's really going to lock that arm in, and at some point, Jordan, you can try all you want, but you cannot defend a choke with one arm. Because they can choke you with that arm.
Yeah. Good point there, and I totally agree. I don't know how anyone thought Jordan Leavitt won that first round. Jordan really didn't do much damage, and Paddy was able to do, stuff a lot of takedown attempts, and also actually was able to land some strikes on Jordan and hurt him in that end of that first round. I think he even took him down at one point, if I'm mistaken, or ended up on top of Jordan doing some punches. So yeah, I don't know anyone. I mean, Bisping I don't know if Bisping thought that first round was close, so they gave it a Leavitt. I think Bisping said something like that, which I'm like, huh? Made no sense. But either way, it don't matter because Paddy Pimblett got the victory. Front of the fans at the O2 Arena. I mean, they were going nuts for him when his entrance came out. He came out with his song, and the whole crowd was doing Paddy the Baddy chant, and he was doing his dance. His little I won't say dance, but he does that. Like this.
The walkout and the bounce. He has this bounce and. He, I don't know, maybe he knows it, but the marketing helps. The hair bounces with him. So when he's coming out there, you got the hair bouncing, and everyone had their Paddy the Baddy wigs on, so they all had their hair on, and you hear the and the whole O2 Arena, man, lit the hell up, bro. This right here was the perfect precursor because the Chris Curtis Jacker Manson thing calmed us down, and then we got into the Aspinall versus Blaydes. And I remember I did a whole little cleaning routine just before the Blaydes Aspinall fight, and you see them getting ready to throw, and then that happened. And if only that didn't happen, the grade for this card would have been way higher. Because Paddy the Baddy's entrance, him, and then you saw it, like he's joking around, he's jovial. The minute he entered the octagon, you saw the change look in his eyes. It was just switch mode. That's it. The switch is on. I'm here for the kill. And you see it, like this guy he's not one of those guys I don't want the Jedi to catch a stray here, but he's going to have to catch a stray. He's not a guy like Johnny Walker, where Johnny, he looks completely jovial throughout the entire moment. It looks like you have to wait until he gets a couple of licks in before he's serious. But this guy, Johnny, is salsaing and merengueing, all while Bruce Buffer is, announcing his name. Versus Paddy, the minute he steps foot in that, the minute he crosses through that cage, it's lights on, man. It's game time. You gotta love it.
Yeah, exactly. I noticed that too. When he got in the octagon and Bruce Buffer announced it, he was stone faced, like he was ready for war. Like, yeah, I knew it was like, oh, this is serious, Paddy. Oh shoot, man. Jordan in trouble, and yeah, he beat Jordan Leavitt. Great victory for Paddy, especially considering what Paddy said afterwards, where his friend committed suicide that Friday, the day before the fight. He found out when he was cutting weight, and apparently not many people knew. I don't think anybody like really knew about that, besides maybe his close circle. And you couldn't tell by the weight, by the the weigh-ins when he made weights in the ceremonial ones, and even the entrance, that he was dealing with that. So I mean, I got him credit for dealing with that heavy burden and going out there and be able to win victory, dedicated to his friends. So I mean, that's definitely something that made the performance even more memorable, was the post-fight speech and learning about that fact. So yeah, give credit Paddy Pimblett for facing not only adversity, like really tough, like emotional and mental adversity. Thinking about that,
it was weighing on him immediately after he gave the post-fight conference. I don't know if you saw the clip, but he just broke down crying in the octagon.
Yeah, I saw it.
And it was just a mental toll that he had. So salute to Paddy Pimblett, man, for, despite going through that, and at any point between the weight cut and the night of the fight, he mentally could have just checked out and said, I don't even want to be here anymore. But he got the job done, dedicated the performance to his friend, and was able to get the message out there to, for just, men in general to talk about the mental issues we have.
Right, exactly. And great victory, and great speech afterwards. And the crowd definitely after that fight were happy. Like you mentioned, they were singing as well. The entrance, and I know the entrance for Tom Aspinall was pretty good too. When he came out to Chris Mayfield, what's the song by him? It's a popular song. You know what I'm talking about? That Tom Aspinall comes out to Chris Mayfield.
My gosh!
Kanye West sampled it for "Touch the Sky." I know that.
Oh my gosh! Oh man! Give me a moment. I'm gonna YouTube it right now. Oh my god.
Okay, yeah.
I know what you're talking about though. Curtis Mayfield, yes.
Yeah, definitely. The crowd was definitely into that song for Tom Aspinall too. But unfortunately, now
Move on up.
Move on up.
Move
Okay.
on up. That's what it is. Move on up. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. The crowd's into that and Paddy's song. But at least with Paddy's fight, they got what they wanted. So yeah, definitely great performance by Paddy Pimblett. He got a performance bonus. I know that. So definitely deserved it.
Deserving of it.
And we can move on to the fight that preceded that in the light heavyweight division between Nikita Krylov and Alexander Gustafsson. As Nikita Krylov wins this fight 1 minute and 7 seconds in the first round. This wasn't a fight. I mean, Nikita Krylov just blitzed him and just was able to knock him out and finish him. It was shocking because Alexander Gustafsson is as historic as it was one of the best light heavyweights for a long time, and he's one of the greatest fighters to never win a UFC belts. He's in that conversation with Uriah Faber, Dan Henderson, guys like that who never won the belts but fought for it. Alexander Gustafsson has to be in that conversation, and I mentioned this last week that normally this was several years ago. I would pick Gustafsson. I would never thought that Krylov would beat Gustafsson, but Gustafsson, I mean, his comeback has not been ideal at all. I mean, he's not the same guy. I mean, granted, he hadn't fought in 2 years. The fight 2 years ago was a heavyweight against Verdum, and Verdum just steamrolled him. And he goes back to light heavyweight where he had success against Krylov, and Krylov just steamrolled him, but just striking and dropped him and just knocked him out. I mean, it was what the F? Just so shocking because Gustafsson's a tough dude. I mean, he's always had a good chin. He can take some punishment, but Krylov just destroyed him. Krylov is a good fighter. He's only 30 years old and he's made improvements. I do want to give Krylov credit. Krylov has got a lot of knockout victories, but seeing that was just. I think the whole O2 arena in London was shocked seeing that performance.
Alexander Gustafsson is in the Hall of Fame for his matchup with John Jones. And Nikita Krylov put on a great performance. That's the only positive things I could say about that, because everything else you just kind of, and I don't want to, harp on Gustafsson, but we both said it. We both saw it coming. We both saw it coming. I'll leave it at that.
Unfortunately, I mean, I mentioned earlier they're going to Sweden in November, so I mean, Gustafsson, on that card makes sense. Hopefully, it may be the last one. That's all I'll say. Hopefully, I mean, because his comeback has not been ideal at all. I mean, I was just shocking. Great victory for Nikita Krylov, and Krylov mentioned something after the post-fight that I want to mention. Krylov mentioned the fight happened earlier between Oezdemir and Paul Craig, and now that fight basically was not entertaining. It wasn't, which he was right, it wasn't. We'll talk about that fight as well, and how he wants to fight Oezdemir in Abu Dhabi UFC 280, and I'm down for that. I want to see that fight. I mean, that card's already stacked. I mean, can you imagine a UFC 280 with that Oezdemir and Krylov in the prelims? We've already that great card.
I'd like that. I'd really like that. Yeah, we could do that.
I agree.
I'd be interested in that.
Yeah, me too. They're both similarly ranked 2, coming off victories. They didn't really take damage at all, so that makes sense. I like that idea. Make it more stacked. You got Islam and Oliveira. You got DJ and Sterling. Then you got Sean Brady, Bilal Muhammad, and Gamrot and Dariush, and what's the other big fight on that card? I forget. How did I forget? And you guys know what I'm talking about. Isn't
it Mally and Yan?
Yes, Mally and Yan. There we go. That's the other big one. Exactly on that card. And you got Moreno Rodriguez and
we gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it.
I know. I know that. But I'm just saying. Imagine that fight, Krylov and Oezdemir on that card with everything they got.
That'd be great to kick things off.
I totally agree. Or in the main event prelims. Definitely. Great call out by.
That was a great call out by Nikita Krylov, and great performance by Nikita Krylov. A bonus-worthy performance. He did end up getting the bonus. So we see Paddy Pimblett got a bonus. Nikita Krylov got a bonus. We got to get into this next fight on the card because this one got a bonus as well. Molly McCann versus Hannah Goldie. In the face of what's his name again? Oh my gosh. In the words and face of Macaulay Culkin, I can just do this. How? First off, before I get into that, let's just start off the fight. It was a great back and forth between Molly McCann and Hannah Goldie. Hannah, she physically looked stronger than Molly McCann. Molly called her the muscles from Brussels, because she had muscles on her. She was stacked. It was I ain't gonna say that, but it was looking kind of like different. Like if Hannah gets a hold of Molly, then that's it. And we saw that seemed to be her game plan because she threw in a couple of punches to try and mix in some grappling and get really, really close to Molly. Right now, this is the word from Molly McCann. Molly McCann won the fight. Spoiling that for the story, ladies and gentlemen, but this is the word. As they're grappling, Hannah gets close to Molly and tells her, "Hey, you smell nice."
Really?
This is what is going on. And she's telling her that and messing with Molly's head, and Molly is striking with her and trying to get her off, and they having a good old back and forth, right?
Right.
Molly hits her with a couple of 1s and 2s, gets Hannah stumbled a bit here and there. She throws a right hand, misses it, right? Ladies and gentlemen, spins another back elbow. Hannah was out. The extra punches was they were the Monsvado punches. The not so necessary but super necessary punches.
Yeah, super necessary.
Yo, how you get 2 spinning elbows back to back?
I don't. It's crazy. Like, oh my gosh. Like, when I saw that, I was like, she did it again. I yelled it out.
Yo. I
didn't expect that. No one thought she was gonna do it again.
Dude, it was the early morning. I went and got my breakfast, but then I got my laptop together. I said, let me lay down real quick and just watch these first couple of fights and see what's going on. And the Paul Cragen thing, we're gonna get into that one. That's why I laid down. But then I'm watching this one and I'm comfortable and I'm like, I wonder what Molly gonna do. You can't hunt for the spinning elbow again because that's gonna be too obvious and that's gonna be a bad fight. What is she gonna do? Plus, I saw her training the spinning elbow a lot. So I'm like, if she just hunts for it, it's gonna be a bad night. What is she gonna do? And I'm watching the fight and I'm going, all right, Molly just gotta watch out for the grappling, but all in all, her striking is good. She's doing good. She's doing Molly! Bro, I was like I was like a white woman that lost her daughter. Molly! I was screaming the name Molly. Yo, and it was, you knew she was looking for it, but you didn't know she was looking for it. Yeah, because it was the only one spinning elbow that she threw in the fight. That was the only one. Ladies and gentlemen, y'all really don't get it. That's like Monsvado after he did what he did to Ben Askren, right?
Yeah.
Let's say his next fight is against another Joe Schmo or some other guy like that. Mm-hmm. And it's 3-round fight. And the first 2 rounds, he's coming out regular. Boom, 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 or whatever. And then the 3rd round, out of nowhere, he got the energy. And the dude comes, he's like, what you gonna do? Whoa! Another flying knee. You didn't expect it, but you knew it was always there. Austin, take. Yeah, man.
Sorry, as I coughed there. Yeah, this was great. You're right, Dan. Hannah Goldie looked way stronger than Molly McCann. It was obvious. Like, I was looking at her like, damn, she's a strong woman. But I knew Molly McCann had the better striker of the two. Watched the striking exchanges. It was obvious Molly was the better striker. But I also knew if Hannah could get a hold of her and grapple with her, that could be problems. But that didn't happen. And Molly was able to, push her against the cage, and she missed. But she landed that spinning back elbow. When she landed that, I was like I said, she did it again. Are you effing serious? What the F? Like in a positive way, not like negative. It was like, I couldn't believe it. And
you can only say how.
Yeah, you don't expect that. It's like you mentioned it perfectly. Jorge Monsvado, he fought his next fight with the flying knee, he got knocked out again after the Ben Askren one. We've been the same thing. Or Yair Rodriguez would have done the back up elbow after he knocked out Zombies. Next fights, he would have done the same thing. We've been like, what? Like, again? Because you don't expect that, because those things are rare, and you try to hunt for them, it backfires because people are expecting it. But Molly McCann set herself in the right position to hit it and knock out Hannah Goldie. She set herself in the right position. She wasn't like hunting for it. She put herself, like I said, right position to hit it. And once she hit it, game over. And like I said, she was throwing punches because ref didn't stop it. And obviously, you gotta keep going till the ref touches you, pulls you apart. And that's what she did. And it was a great performance by Molly McCann. As the crowd went, obviously, it went nuts, rightfully so.
Bananas.
Rightfully so. She went in the crowd again, like she did in the last UFC London. She got on Dave Portnoy's shoulders, and Dave Portnoy, the owner of Barstool Sports, was there to support Molly and Paddy. They both, he caught her and as she dove onto him, and apparently she messed up Dave's shoulders. That's why I hear that when she jumped on Dave.
Them's the breaks, Dave. You was in the crossfire of the celebration. You knew that the possibility was gonna happen, that she was gonna jump in your arms, because didn't she jump on Dana White's arms or something, or
I think so.
She did, and then she pulled up a chair next to Dana and said, "Give me some howler head." And she did what she did this time. She ran in the crowd. She found Michael Chandler and Joanna Jacek, and they are all drinking cups of howler head in their own customized little cups with their names on it. So you saw one with Michael, one with Joanna, and the other one with Molly. And she said, "I told y'all if I won, I was gonna come out here and drink with y'all." And they was tossed it back. And not only that, exciting news straight from their mouth. Molly and Paddy, they want one more fight this year.
Yeah.
They want one more fight. And it's she said it in the post fight. She was like, they were like, they asked her, is it really a package deal that if you fight on a card, Paddy has to fight on a card? If Paddy fights on a card, you have to fight on a card? She said, yeah, it's a package deal. So when I told BT, they absolutely started roaring, laughing, and they loved it. And they thought I was just joking. I said, no, we're going to blow the roof off the gaff. You leave it to us. We're going to blow this place up. And I guarantee you, you will not regret it. And I'm telling you right now, man, it has been a wise investment to have those two on the card. Those two support each other. You saw it. As soon as Molly got that knockout, Paddy was in the back excited. Soon as Paddy got his submission over Jordan Leavitt, you saw Molly with her Paddy wig on, celebrating with Dave Portnoy and everyone. Like, it's fun. They bring an energy to a card that I'm excited to see a card with those. Sometimes you can watch a card and sometimes you can see a card and you see 1 to 2 fighters and you go, all right, man, I'm excited for this guy and I'm excited for this guy. But never have I ever seen it where a pair of fighters are going, we both on the card, we rock off each other's energy, this, that, whatever. The only time you could maybe guesstimate something like that is when they all come out the same camp. But nowhere have they ever openly supported each other like the way Molly McCann and Paddy Pimblett do. So I'm all for it. They want to fight, one more time. Dana, Mick, Sean, do it right. Do us right. Do them right. Do us right. Please help these guys get another, because we will pay the money. We will watch it. What's that meme where the dude he covers his eyes, he slams the table with his card and take my money? That's what I'm gonna do.
A Fry from
my money.
Fry from Futurama, you know that episode. Yeah. Shut up and take my money.
Shut up and take my money. That's what I'm gonna do. Like you see, these guys are so. They help Drake make millions, and Drake is sending them rollies. They asked for the rollie. They said, Drake, man, we helped you make millions. You bet on us. We got it. Just send us a rollie. And Drake hit him back up on Instagram. I got you. Come on now. This is star power. You got to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I agree. And the UFC is going to get him one more fight. They're going to do it, obviously. And Paddy said, I think he wants to go to Vegas. It might be in America, not in England this time. Going back to America, both of them. Because you remember, last September, they fought in Apex in the British Invasion card, the Till and Brunson card, and that's in Vegas. So it makes sense go back to Vegas potentially, or New York. I was thinking maybe the Madison Square Garden card, but I can see Vegas, especially if Conor McGregor's returning on December potentially. It would make sense to have Paddy and Molly on that card. It would. That would make sense. If McGregor returns December, have those two in that December card.
If McGregor returns December, I'm not even gonna lie. Those two should be on that card. But if not, get them in the Apex.
No, I'll say
the Apex.
I'll start MSG November, the MSG card.
I mean, yeah, but that's only. But then. Nah, get him to the apex. Get him to the apex. Get him to the apex. I want to see them in the apex one more time.
I think it's too late. With the crowd reaction, the game, I think it's too late for the apex for those two. But I think it's too late for that. But yeah, great victory for Molly McCann.
You may absolutely be right. I think one of those, like, they've outgrown their star as far as, like, that's not an apex fight. Like, Conor McGregor is not fighting in the apex.
Exactly.
He's not.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. They draw enough of they have enough of a draw that the UFC would be dumb not to at least see how much they sell ticket wise in America.
Right, exactly. And Paddy and Molly's now being part of Barstool. I think their ticket their marketability and the amount of tickets they sell goes up now, being part of Barstool Sports for Molly and Paddy. So yeah, they'll do well. Like I said, having a New York show, or maybe if McGregor returns in December, like potentially December, or not, just in December in general, December pay-per-view, regardless who main events. Maybe Stipe Jones, maybe have them on that card. It makes sense either way. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not saying it's going to happen. Just
get him. Look, I think we both agree. Get him back one more time.
Yes, totally. 100%
get him back
agree.
One more time. As we let's get to it, brother. We got to finish off this card. You know we got to finish off this card.
Yep.
Get to this last fight, the first fight on the main card. Volkan Oezdemir versus Paul Craig. Volkan Oezdemir wins this fight via unanimous decision. And it wasn't so much that Volkan Oezdemir won the fight as much as Paul Craig lost the fight. My brother, please, Paul Craig, I love you. Bearju, I love you. You can win a fight on your back if they rock you to your back. But for you to voluntarily lay on your back for 3 rounds? And then what's even worse is your shots are... His wrestling shots were hideous. Oh my God, Paul Craig Bearju, I love you, brother. I'm just going... I have nothing to say about Volkan Oezdemir because he did enough to win the fight, which was just not be grounded.
Yes,
that's all he had to do. Just not be grounded.
And throw some good striking. That's all.
I don't even think he needed the striking. With as much time as Paul Craig spent on his back, I don't even think he needed the striking.
It made no sense. Paul Craig's like, he shot, but he never like. I'll tell you his takedown.
His shot was never consistent.
No,
and he never really went through with a full shot.
Exactly. He never tried to get on top. It's like, Paul, you get on top of your opponent and do damage, and you get a submission on top. I don't know. Like, I know Paul Craig got great jiu-jitsu. I mean, his jiu-jitsu is pretty damn good. I mean, he submitted Makwan and Goliath with 1 second left in their fights. But, he submitted Krylov in last London card where Krylov, was beating him up and might have knocked him out with flash knockouts in that fight before he came back and won. But yeah, you can't just get on your back all the damn time. It's like, I agree you're a great jiu-jitsu guy. I agree you have better jiu-jitsu than Douglas Lima, who we were talking about earlier, but still, it's not a good idea either. It could backfire. I mean, Oliveira maybe could get away with that. Maybe. Like, guys like that, Ortega, those are like, and Paul Craig's great jiu-jitsu, but still, it doesn't mean you should rely on being on your bottom.
Look, I know he has a skill set, but the statistics are against you. Like, there's all these factors are against you when you're on the bottom. And that's why the bottom finishes have been so amazing for Paul Craig, is the fact that you've been on bottom and can get these finishes while every bit of statistic and every bit of science is against you. Finishing an opponent from that position is surprising, but that shouldn't be your go-to position.
Exactly. Oh yeah, exactly. And also, try go for a bot. Try to take your Oezdemir down. I know striking wise, you probably have a great disadvantage considering Oezdemir's got the power and things like that, and he's got good striking. But try get on top, take top position at least, or something else. I mean, clinch work. I mean,
Austin, we've seen it where guys have one guy has better striking than the other guy, but the guy knows to mix the martial arts enough to where he can come out on top, i.e. Colby Covington versus Jorge Monsvado. Who's the better striker? Jorge Monsvado. Who came out on top? Colby Covington. Why? Colby was able to mix enough of the martial arts that when he needed to land damage via strikes on Jorge, he was able to. When he needed to take him down, he was able to. But you mix him up well enough. Paul Craig didn't do any of that. So his takedowns look crappy, and his striking looked even crappier. And I love Bear Jew, but this was a terrible performance.
I like Paul Craig, but that was awful. And like I said, and I agree with Krylov that his performance against Paul Craig was way better. Krylov lost, but Krylov arguably knocked out Paul Craig, and probably he arguably knocked out Paul Craig, did better than Oezdemir did. So that's why I agree with the Krylov Oezdemir in that matchup next. But yeah, Paul Craig definitely got to do better. Oh, can't do that. Hopefully, this is a learning experience with Paul Craig, because I like Paul Craig. Paul Craig, I think most UFC fans like Paul Craig. It's just that this performance was just
like terrible. when you see Paul Craig outside of the ring, when you see any interaction he has with other fighters or any fans outside of the ring, you see like he's a guy that he knows time and place. And when we say time and place, that means, okay, when you're outside and out and about, you know how to be sociable. But when you're in the ring, you know how to be about business. When you're at the weigh-off, you know how to put on enough of a show and show aggression to make us interested. Time and place. This guy is aware. He knows these things. But then to be this unaware inside of the ring of your performance and to put up this much of a dud, brother, you got to watch the tape and you got to smack yourself in the head V8 style watching that performance.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely agree. I mean, this main card for the UFC London was a roller coaster card. Started bad, great, and then the Krylov fight was pretty good. Was great knockout, but at the same time, I was like, damn, that's Gustafsson though. It was like that motion. And then
wait, I'm sorry for cutting you off, but that was the exact feeling I was having. It's like, yo, that's crazy. But that's Gustafsson though.
Yeah. And then the Paddy Pimblett, was like ultra high. Yeah. And then the Pearce fight, Hermansson fight was it calmed us down. It was entertaining though. It wasn't a terrible fight, but it was still weird. Not weird, but Chris Kerr's reactions. And then the main event was just it's deflating. It's like, damn it. Especially, I like Tom Aspinall. Like the way you like Paddy Pimblett, I'm like that Aspinall. Like, damn, Aspinall got. But hopefully he'll bounce back, and hopefully Curtis Blaydes can get big fights, because he didn't really win the fight. Hopefully he gets a big one. If I'm Curtis Blaydes, I'll stay ready in case Gon or Taitu will also pull out that France card next month. Because I like Curtis' chance against both guys, so I'll stay ready in case. Just me personally, but yeah, his card was London card. Honestly, it was hard to live up to the March London card, which is all-time great card. But its highs were really high. It had some high moments that were really good. I gotta get Paddy and Molly and Krylov as well. Hermansson had a decent, good performance, but yeah, I mean, the main event, the flame, the first fight was. The prelims of this card were not good.
That's the last point I wanted to stick to before we get off this card, is that I think overall what made that card so good, and people, whether you remember every name on that preliminary, you didn't have to. What you could remember was 7 to 8 finishes. That was the number. That was the UFC record. It was roughly 7 to 8 finishes on that card. They would Dana, when Dana White came out of pocket, he came out of pocket. What's 7 times 50?
7 times 50 is, it's not too. Let me. 3,000. No, is it 3,500? No, 350. That's 7 times 50.
So he gave out roughly $350,000 in bonus, $250,000, above $250,000. the preliminaries did that. That's what gave that edge to that card. So as much as, the main card tried to do what it could do, above all else, the preliminaries were not that exciting. Marc Diakiese, I expected more from him, but he fought a sound fight. Muhammad Makayev, I expected more from him, but then again, he fought a sound fight. The only guy that came out of the prelims looking very, very good was Jonathan Pearce. Came out with the ground and pound in the second round. He defeated Makwan Amirkhani. And you could argue Nathaniel Wood. He had a very good fight against Charles Rosa.
I think Nathaniel Wood came out very well. He was. It was an action pack. He was trying to go after Rosa, hurting Rosa, especially those leg kicks. Those leg kicks are really messing up Rosa. I mean, Rosa, I think, fell for one of those leg kicks and some of the striking. I mean, it was a great bounce out performance for Daniel Wood. Especially considering he's the only person from London on that card. I mean, all the other English fighters, UK fighters, were not from London. He was the only one from London. And he had a great performance from his hometown crowd, and actually looked really good. I thought he had the best performance of anyone in the prelims, personally.
Okay, but the prelims, above all else, because they didn't provide as much finishes as the last time it did. That's where you gotta so you have what you have. Plus, on top of that, I think the biggest thing that's a killer for this card was that the main event ended the way it did.
Yeah, exactly. Get well time, Aspinall, and yeah.
Yep.
And we can move on to this upcoming weekend because there are fights this weekend, and it's a UFC pay-per-view too. UFC 277 from Dallas, Texas, the American Airlines Arena. You guys can see the poster here. We got two rematches in the main event and co-main event. In the main event, it's the rematch between Julia Pena and Amanda Nunes. As we know, in December, Julia Pena pulled one of the biggest upsets in MMA history by defeating Amanda Nunes, making her tap in the second round of the title fight in December. I mean, one of the biggest upsets ever. I mean, all time. And now we have the rematch. This was the right call. You definitely had to do a rematch. Amanda had been a dominant champion for a long time. So she earned the right to get a rematch against Julia Pena. These two women coached the Ultimate Fighter against each other. And now we're getting the rematch 7 months later. And Amanda Nunes is a pretty decent-sized favorite. I believe she's like a minus 300 favorite at DraftKings, somewhere around there. I saw DraftKings, and I was checking to see. I wonder how much of a favorite Amanda is going to be, and she's still a decent-sized favorite, despite the upsets. Kind of like Anderson Silva, if you remember when Silva lost to Chris Weidman the first fight, and to go into the second fight, I believe, if I remember correctly, Anderson Silva was still the favorite. Going to that second fight against Chris Weidman, despite losing. I think it's kind of like that effect where people want to see it again before they believe it. And I can understand that Julia Pena, she had a great performance. Like, she heard Amanda rocked her, and was able to get her on the ground and submit her, and was a very shocking performance because Amanda usually is great stand-up, a lot of power and punches, and Julia ate a lot of her shots. Was able to, outstruck Amanda on the feet. So, yeah, it was definitely shocking to see that performance. Since then, Amanda Nunes has left American Top Team to start her own gym. So, I wonder how that plays a part. I wonder how that's going to play going into this fight. Because sometimes that can be a good thing, but that can also be a bad thing. Leaving a great gym, American Top Team. Going to a new gym, you don't have as many people as you used to. But also, maybe it's like a boxer. Boxers that camps tied specifically for them. Not part of these big mega gyms, if you get what I mean. They're like camps tailor-made for them. It could be like that, and I do wonder how that's going to play a factor going into this fight. And what are your thoughts of this fight, Chef Dan?
It's scary, man. I have all these doubts. Like you said, you bring up Amanda Nunes moving away from American Top Team. That means we don't know who your coaches are. You're getting a new voice. You're getting a new a whole new perspective. And we really don't know where these guys, we don't know how their sessions are. We don't know if these guys truly know you as well as the American Top Team does, and their coaches and things of that nature. So that's scary. Also, Juliana Pena, like you said, for her to have taken certain punches from Amanda Nunes during that first fight and still kept going and still was like, I'm right here with you. That was also surprising. That being said, man, I got Amanda Nunes winning this in the first or second round. I have no like as with all of that information, right? And if Juliana Pena makes me have egg on my face one more time, I'll accept it. But I just don't see Amanda Nunes losing back-to-back to Juliana Pena.
Yeah, I mean, I'm leaning towards Amanda winning the fight personally because I can't see Amanda losing again. Wait, I'm leaning towards Amanda because I can't see her losing again. I'm sorry that thought said Juliana by mistake. If I did, my apologies. I think Amanda's gonna win. I lean towards her. I don't see her losing to Juliana again. There we go. Just wanted to clarify. I mean, I mentioned that the train camp thing, how that could play a factor that can like hurt her or maybe help her. Because some guys leaving a gym, going to a new gym, can hurt them. As it has, we've seen in the past. But also, it might be a good thing for Amanda. Maybe get different perspective, have something tailor-made for her, making her skill sets. Also, one thing I noticed with Amanda, like looking, I saw like an embedded series where, like the embedded video, they do before pay-per-views at the embedded where they showcase the fighters, week off the fights. I saw her like running on the treadmill, and she looked in much better shape than she did in the first fights. I don't know if you noticed, like the first fight, look at Amanda now for the first fight. Amanda didn't look in the best shape compared to this fight. She looks in way better shape, looks a little leaner, like more athletic. And I do wonder if that will play a factor in this fight. The fact that she's in better shape now than she was going into that fight. It probably will, but yeah, because that's one thing I noticed in the first fight was that Amanda didn't look like the best, like in terms of in shape, and she kind of gassed out, which that was a problem for her in the past. But ever since she's been on this run, she corrected that mistake, that gassing out problem. But it came back, or that bad, that bad thing came back to bite her in the butt. In the fight, and that's one of the contributing factors that led to the upset with Juliana Pena was her gassing out. But I think if she has better conditioning, I think this will definitely favor her. One thing with Juliana though is that Juliana's grappling is pretty good. She is known as a grappler. I do wonder if this fight goes on the ground, I think Juliana has a great chance of giving Amanda problems and submitting her. That's what I'm gonna look for this fight is can Amanda prevent the fight going to the ground? Because if she can, I think Juliana might be able to beat her again personally. Now, if she keeps it standing, I think Amanda Nunes is gonna win the fight. Especially probably first or second round, like you mentioned. But yeah, I'm leaning towards Amanda. Wouldn't be shocked if Juliana wins though. Like after seeing the first fight, but I don't expect Juliana to win.
All right. From that, we can move on from that fight to the next fight on the card. This is also for championship gold, baby. For the UFC Interim Flyweight Championship, we have Brandon Moreno versus Kaikada France. I'm going to have fun with this fight because it's going to start off a little bit slow. Both of these guys are strikers. They're very accurate strikers. It's not about power for these guys. It's about accuracy and flow. So they're going to start off feinting a lot. Me personally, I think this fight, you're not really going to see real action until the second or maybe third round. Now, who has the advantage to me? Brandon Moreno, he came off of taking, this was the surprising part. In the last fight against Davison Figueiredo, right?
Yeah.
What changed the complexion between that fight and the last other fights they had were the leg kicks that Davison was able to utilize.
Yeah.
Other than that, the most surprising thing was that when Davison threw full power and rocked Moreno, Moreno was able to take it and throw something right back.
Yeah, that's good. That's true.
Davison has been known to put people out, and he had the chin to take that and move on. So not to say he can't take any damage, but he has a chin. But I think the attribute that sticks out most to me when I'm thinking about these two fighters is I think Kaikada France is the more creative and more accurate striker. He's willing to throw a couple of different combos with the legs and the hands. He's willing to get into the clinch, throw some knees, things of that nature. Versus Brandon Moreno, I think if he had his druthers, he'd stay on the outside and box with you. That's what the babyface assassin would love to do. I'm kind of leaning towards Kaikada France to win this one. I think he's going to win this one inside the 4th round.
Wait, stoppage?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, wow. That'd be something. If he could be the first guy to stop Brandon Moreno, I mean, that would be impressive as all heck, man, if he did that. But one thing I want to mention is that Brandon Moreno won the first fights. And I was watching the first fight earlier. It's on YouTube, by the way. You can go watch the first fight for free on YouTube. UFC posted it. And that was on the prelims of the Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman 1 card, which kind of crazy that these two, man, go from the prelims to now co-main eventing a pay-per-view. Just shows how both guys have improved and just have done well since that fight. Kind of impressive when you think about it. But Kaikada France won the first round because you mentioned he rocked Moreno twice. Like Moreno got rocked twice, kind of like Figueiredo rocked Moreno, but Moreno like just didn't go down. He was able to survive, and Moreno was able to take a punch and give a punch, and he actually hurt Kaikada France despite Kai laying some shots and was rocking Kai several times. He drew several kicks to, and Kai blocked with his arms, but it hurt Kai's arm. It hurt, because Kai was blocking the kicks with his arm. Every time Kai tried to punch, it hurt because of the kicks that Brandon Moreno drew. And that's something that even Israel and Dan Hooker said, because Israel and Dan Hooker did a preview of this card, talking about the Kaikada France, obviously, and then I think they even mentioned that in the first fights about that. So I do want. So if you're Brandon Moreno, if you're Kaikada France, you gotta watch out for the kicks and be careful because he's got power in his kicks, and it hurt your arm badly. And kind of might change the complexion of the fights. You blocking those kicks with your arms. And Moreno was able to make adjustments, able to, take some of Kai's punches, but also hurt Kai, especially some body shots too. If I remember correctly, watching that fight, he drew on Kai. But both guys have improved, and I feel like with Kai, you mentioned it correctly, he's a more creative striker, especially training sick kickboxing with Israel, Dan Hooker, Alexander Volkanovski, and that's agreeing on one of the best gyms in the world. Sick kickboxing, look what they've done. And Kaikada France is definitely improved. He survived Askar Askarov, who's a very good grappler, a guy that was like kind of the boogeyman division that I thought was probably going to fight for the title, and he beat him pretty, shockingly, really beat him pretty good. Very impressive victory for Kaikada France. And one thing, I feel like I'm leaning towards Moreno in this fight. I think Moreno's going to win because I think Moreno has more ways to win than Kaikada France. I feel like if it's in the grappling, it favors Moreno because Moreno does have, I believe, about 11 submission victories. So that's where if it gets to the ground, Kai could be in a lot more of trouble. But also, Moreno has good boxing, good stand-up, especially in the outside, like you mentioned. And he's got that great chin, like a lot of Mexican fighters have, to where you don't want to get too many times, obviously, but at the same time, it's good to know you can take a punch. You can take a punch to give one, and that can be very deflating for a fighter, knowing that you hit with your best shot and they're surviving, and now you're getting hits. that could really mess with you. I can definitely see that happening. And also, I wouldn't be surprised if Moreno throws a lot of kicks in this fight, so maybe throw off Kaikada France. But I'm leaning towards Kai. I think not Kai, Brandon Moreno. I think Moreno's just a slightly better fighter than Kaikada France is. And I think we're gonna get the 4th fight between Figueiredo and Moreno, which I want to see because I think we'll all want to see because we want to see that rivalry resolve, considering they're 1-1-1, which is unheard of at 3 fights for G2 fighters. But yeah, I'm going with Moreno. I know Moreno's a small favorite. I saw on DraftKings, but I wouldn't be surprised if Kaikada France win. Wouldn't shock me considering training sick kickboxing and they tend to pull big upsets. Well, not big upsets, but victories over great opponents and shocking and very sometimes convincing ways. If that makes sense.
All right. Yeah, sounds good. From there, we'll move on to the next fight on the card. This is the 3rd fight in the heavyweight division. We have Derek Lewis, the Black Beast, versus Sergey Pavlovic. You got number 5 versus number 11 here. Derek Lewis is trying to stay within the top 5 ranking of the heavyweights, trying to keep that dream alive of contending for a title.
He's fighting in his home state of Texas, not in Houston, home city, but in Texas.
Yeah, but
Dallas.
I think the H-Town boy swings and bangs and gets a knockout. Derek Lewis is just, and there's been fighters that have found a way to neutralize the power, and you have different creative ways. But Derek Lewis also finds ways to negate your negation. Like, he's evolved as a fighter and as a knockout artist, especially. And that's a scary thing. To see him evolve as a knockout artist and find different ways to knock you out is scary. I
agree. I mean,
look at Derek
Blaydes
Lewis
fights.
by knockout, man. I don't know whether it's in the first or the third round, but I got Derek Lewis by knockout.
Yeah, you're mentioning that Derek Lewis has evolved to where he can negate your negation. I mean, look at the Curtis Blaydes fight where he called the uppercut and Blaydes was trying to go for a takedown. And that was a vicious knockout. I mean, Curtis Blaydes was stiff as a wooden board when he got knocked out. But yeah, I know Pavlovic is the favorite, a slight favorite, like a when we say, I mean, a slight favorite on DraftKings. I saw that, I was like, wow, dang. And listen, Pavlovic is pretty good. I mean, he's on, I believe, I'm trying to remember. No, not. I'm trying to remember I think he's on like a 5-fight win streak because when he came to UFC, he debuted against Alistair Overeem. That was his only loss, and Overeem knocked him out in his UFC debut.
He's on a 3-fight win streak.
3-fight, my bad.
Funny enough, he won against Marcelo Gome, Maurice Green, and Shamil Abdurakhimov.
Yeah. Yeah, Trent. Yeah, he had success in Russia and like the big Russian organizations, and then UFC debut had to go against Overeem, which is like, dang, yeah, it goes Overeem your debut, and he got knocked out. Because Overeem is still pretty good. I still think he's a top 10 heavyweight in MMA. You know, he's doing kickboxing now, but that's another story for another day. But he's a knockout artist, Pavlovic. Pavlovic got power. 12 of his 15 victories are by knockout and TKO, so that guy's got power in his hands. And I want to correct something. I mentioned that Aspinall beat him. I was mistaken. That was Sergey's pick, but Aspinall beats, not Pavlovic. Got the wrong Sergey. And I think he's tied with John Jones for the longest arm reach, 84 inches, which is, he's got a reach advantage. He's like a 4-inch reach advantage over Derek Lewis. So I wonder if that plays a factor. And he's also a knockout artist like Derek Lewis too. So Derek Lewis this is a tough fight for Derek. He's got danger in his fights. I respect Derek for taking this fight, but there's danger. I mean, I'm leaning towards Derek Lewis. I mean, I'm a big Derek Lewis fan. He's one of my favorite fighters. I want him to win because Derek Lewis winning, I think, is good for UFC, especially his personality. And yeah, I'll go Derek Lewis, but I can see Pavlovic, finishing him. No, granted, I mean, Tattoo also, that finish he got was in the clinch with a perfectly placed elbow. I mean, that was shocking to see, but I do wonder how Derek Lewis is going to be, considering that was 5 months ago, and now he's turning back and fighting another knockout artist, a more dangerous knockout artist, arguably than Ty in Sergey Pavlovic. But at the same time, Derek Lewis got the most knockouts in UFC history. He's got like 21 knockouts in his MMA career. I mean, I could see him knocking out Pavlovic too. If he fights, they've avoided big shots from Pavlovic. They will mix some martial arts. I think he definitely catch Pavlovic, knock him out as well. I think someone's getting knocked out in this fight. I think that's what we can agree on. That's it. Yeah, this fight doesn't go to distance. Someone's getting KO'd. Exactly. I'm excited for this. Hopefully Derek Lewis wins, but as a fan. But hey, Pavlovic wins. Tip that to him. Big victory. But we shall see Saturday. Obviously. We can move on to the next fight in the card, which is at flyweight as well, which is between Alex Perez and Alex Pantoja, as they're both ranked in the top 6. Perez 6, Pantoja 4, and we haven't seen Alex Perez fight since the Davis Figueiredo. Yep, we lost to Davis Figueiredo in the title fights. If you remember, that was like where Figueiredo called him in the perfect guillotine, even though Perez really didn't do a lot of things wrong in that terms of takedown and everything. Just Figueiredo just was just it was his night that night.
And I know Figueiredo also made him look very pedestrian that night.
Yeah, and what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, that Perez was supposed to have several fights that were canceled. He was supposed to come back earlier this year, but I forget there were several fights that got canceled, and it's unfortunately. But Perez is a very good fighter. Like I said, fought for the title, 24-6. Plays against a guy in Alexander Pantoja, who I think's kind of underrated in terms of ranked contenders in the UFC overall. I feel like this guy doesn't get enough credit for how good he is. I mean, this guy's victories over Brandon Royval, Manel Cap, which that's aged very well now. I see what Manel Cap has done, and even we didn't Ryzen.
And he has one against Moreno as well.
Yes, Brandon Moreno, who's fighting for the title, and also his victory over Matt Schnell, who got that impressive victory last weekend in Long Island against Summer Georgi. And he got victory over Wilson Hayes, who was a foreign title challenger, and against Demetrius Johnson. Back when Wilson Hayes was still a pre-elite fighter. So Pantoja's fought a lot of great fighters and has beaten a lot of great fighters in this flyweight division. This guy is very good, Pantoja. Very underrated. I mean, this is a guy who arguably could be in the spot where Kaikada friends and Brandon Moreno are. And I wouldn't be surprised if they put this fight in case one of these guys had to pull out, Pantoja could step in. Wouldn't be shocked if this is one of the reasons.
It's funny, but we seem to forget that when Moreno was champion, after Moreno won the belt, Pantoja had won the title, and we were having a discussion that this guy was one fight away from the belt. So, it's not like he did something wrong or he lost in between that one fight. It was never that. He beat Brandon Royval, and we all thought this guy is one fight away from the title, and then he's just been inactive. But also the division in his inactivity has started to figure itself out. But also, as much as you could say it's figured itself out, for the possibility of a trilogy or a quadruple fight to be happening between two competitors, it shows how much the division hasn't been doing its job as far as the rest of these guys. So you have Alex Perez, who's coming off of a 2-year hiatus, and Pantoja, who we all agree this guy should be right there fighting for belts, but something's not happening here. Both of these guys got to get it together because they're both very good competitors. I'm interested in this fight.
Especially Pantoja, and I think one that might hurt Pantoja, I think he's on a 2-fight win streak, is the loss to Askar Askarov. He lost, I believe he fought him and lost, and then we know Askarov lost to Kaikada France, which elevated Kaikada France to the fight with Moreno for the interim title, so I think that kind of hurt him as well. But Pantoja, very good. I mean, the guy's got 8 KO TKOs and 9 submissions and 7 decisions. He can win all kinds of ways, and Perez is very good, but I want to see that layoff affects him. It may not affect him. He may be Dominic Cruz and just, hey, ring rust don't exist to me. Or it might hurt him and might lead to a Pantoja victory, which I'm leaning towards Pantoja. I know
yeah.
I mean, I think Perez is a favorite, slight favorite, which is kind of surprising. But I saw, I mean, if I was a betting man, which I'm not giving gambling advice, I'd probably be tempted to pick Pantoja, bet on him. That's just me. Very underrated, and I think he's very good. I think he's going to showcase to the world why he's elite, why he should not be underrated.
We never said this was betting advice, but you could always take it as betting advice if you so choose to. I would put my money on Pantoja. And I think starting in a week or so, I'm going to start locking in some picks on DraftKings live on the show so we could, all join in the fun. But I would put my money on Pantoja. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right. And we can move on to the first fight of this card, which is an important light heavyweight matchup between Magomed Ankalaev, ranked number 4, against the number 5 ranked Anthony Smith. As Anthony Smith's come on and win a 3-fight winning streak. His last victory is over Ryan Spann, right? It was Ryan Spann, right?
Yes. Very impressive victory.
As Magomed Ankalaev's on an 8-fight winning streak, he lost his last fight. His only loss, was a loss to Paul Craig, which was a last-second triangle choke that he lost to against Paul Craig, where he was doing well, but Paul Craig was able to get that submission. But Ankalaev's looked very well since then. like I said, 8 in a row. He's come out with victory with Thiago Santos. And Thiago did rock him, but Thiago really didn't do much against Ankalaev. Ankalaev was able to dominate him, and not exactly the most eventful fight, but still did enough to win. And Anthony Smith is a guy who usually brings in most fights. He always gives it his all. It's the reason he's called Lionheart. He showcases his skills usually in these fights. And one thing I want to see is I want to see the grappling exchange between these two, because Makwan Ankalaev is a Dagestani. Obviously, he's got the wrestling background. Dagestanis are very good at that. But I want to see him go against Anthony Smith, who's got pretty good jiu-jitsu. I mean, he's a black belt. I believe, he's a black belt, and I believe he's got about 14 submissions. I'm mistaken. I could be wrong. 14 submissions. So he can definitely submit a lot of his opponents. I do want to see if the grappling is involved in this fight and who prevails, the Dagestani wrestling or the jiu-jitsu experience of Anthony Smith, because Anthony Smith's got a lot of experience in his career. He's got I think about 50 plus fights in his career, which is twice as much as Ankalaev. So I do wonder if that could play a factor. And also, one thing I want to see if Anthony Smith is, if you remember the Glover Teixeira fight, if you remember, he was switching stances a lot and a lot of movement. He was doing well early on, but that came to bite him because he started getting a little tired, and Glover was able to catch him and able to beat him up for the rest of that fight so it would stop. I do wonder if he does do that against Ankalaev, does he get tired towards the third round to the point where Ankalaev can start hurting him badly and probably do some damage, because Ankalaev tends to slow the fights down. I want to be able to pull that off. I'm looking forward to this fight because this is an important fight in the lightweight division. I do not think the winner of this fight gets the next title shot. I don't believe so personally, despite what Anthony Smith says. I know he says otherwise, but I mean, I don't know if the UFC is going to do that, considering Yuri wants Glover, and that was a great fight, and I think people would like to see a rematch. But who knows?
What I can say is, the winner of this fight doesn't get number one contendership, but I think you do get to fight Jan Blachowicz for number one contendership, and that would be, this fight would be a great stepping stone to getting to Jan, while Yuri and Glover figure out part two, because I'm not gonna lie, I think everyone in the world has decided that Yuri and Glover part 2 should happen, especially the way that firefight went down the first time. But if both of those guys watch that tape, and they could come back even better than before. You brought up a lot of interesting points, but to me, what I think the biggest factor for this fight is gonna be Anthony Smith's striking. If he can because he has the length. So he's gonna have to make Magomed Ankalaev is gonna have to either shoot with reckless abandonment, or he's gonna have to be smart and duck under some punches while weaving his way in to try and get the shot. Either way, he's gonna have to do one or the other. If Anthony Smith's striking can keep him at bay, I got him winning this fight. I got him winning this fight. And it could either go to decision or he'll finish it by the second round. That's how confident I am in Anthony Smith. Not because, he's shown it before to have some good runs and then sputter here and there. But this run I feel is different, man.
I was gonna mention that how he has some good runs and then sputters, but it seems like he's putting it together now. It's like a different run. Better said, after the loss to, I think, it was Glover. No, Rakic. He fought Glover and then lost to Rakic afterwards. And then after that loss, he slowly built himself back up, correctly by going against. His first opponent, I remember, was not ranked. Then he slowly built his way back up the rankings, and now he's got his confidence, and he's basically in a position to be to where he wins this fight. He's going to fight Jan Blachowicz for a champion. It's in a number one contender fight. So this seems like this could be the run. I wouldn't be shocked if Smith wins, and I'm surprised. And I heard the odds are very big. Ankalaev's a big favorite. I forgot a big favorite. Anthony Smith was a big underdog. Kind of surprising how big of an underdog he is. I think it should be closer considering these are two elite heavyweights, and Smith has a legit shot beating Ankalaev legitimately. It wouldn't be no shocking victory for Anthony Smith. So I'm kind of surprised by the odds there.
The odds will probably correct themselves as we get closer and closer to Saturday. But that's my take on the card. I'm very interested in this card. This card has some very entertaining fights on it. Even the preliminaries, man. If you look at some of these names that are on the preliminaries, I'm excited. Michael Morales, he's fighting Adam Fugit, and Michael Morales, he's a highly touted MMA prospect, 13-0 right now, and he's got everything, whether it be the striking or the grappling, especially the grappling. This guy has got it. I'm excited to see him fight. Also, Jakar Close versus Rayford Garcia. I don't know if you remember Jakar Close, but the last card he was on, he got a finishing bonus. I think it was off of a head kick.
I think so. I could have sworn it was a head kick. Jakar Close.
I'm very confident in watching him perform once again. So I'm excited for this card. I'm very excited. Is there any fight on the preliminaries you're excited for?
Drew Dober against Rafael Alves. So Drew Dober back, considering Dober, last year before the Islam fight, he was ranked, but then lost to Islam, and then lost his next fight, but then came back and bounced back against Terrence McKinney when McKinney rocked him twice. So they dropped him twice.
Twice.
Yeah, they came back and finished McKinney and all within the one round. It was like one of the more shocking fights I think of this year. It's just because of the fact he got dropped twice. He came back and won. It was like dang. It's hard not to have more respect for Drew Dober. Want to see him fight again after that performance. And I do want to say he does get Rafael Alves. I mean, see if he can win that fight without taking as much damage as Terrence McKinney, which I think he will take less damage than he did against Terrence McKinney, because McKinney, you and I agree, it's a very talented up and coming lightweight that who was fighting winning a lot of fights that we thought was going to be ranked by the end of the year, but who knows? Wouldn't surprise him next year. Terrence McKinney's ranked, but it's tough division, lightweight's deep, so we wouldn't ever know. But still, I think I want to see Drew Dober. I want to see how he does. I'm excited to see Drew Dober this upcoming weekend. I know he's the main event of the prelims, if I'm not mistaken. No, he is. Yeah, he's main event of the prelims.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Also, I'm excited for this. Alex Moreno versus Matt Samuelsberger in the welterweight division. Both of these guys very interesting. Alex Moreno, I want to see how far he continues, because he has a bit of a bumpy road in the UFC, but so far I think he's coming off of a victory. Yeah, he beat Mickey Gall. Was it last year in December? And I want to see what he does, how he continues on his climb.
Yeah, yeah, that's all I got. Anything else before we wrap the show?
Nah, that's really it. I'm excited for this card, man. We pay-per-view, we back 2 title belts. I'm not putting and this card, if it surprises me with being a potential card of the year, so be it, because I have little to no expectation for this card to touch either the Yuri Glover card or the London card. So hey, you got no expectations, that means you can only but surprise me.
Yeah, exactly, and this card has a lot. The main event it's a legacy fight for Amanda Nunes, because if Amanda Nunes loses to Julianne Peña again, I mean, her legacy, it'd be shocking. Her legacy kind of takes a hit, in my opinion, considering you lost to someone twice the same. And I know people.
Look, not only that, but I'll tell you like this: the other thing that's gonna take a hit is that other belt she's holding.
Yes, I'm about to say, yes, good points. The other belt she's holding, yeah, it takes a hit the featherweight division, the featherweight belt, which, I mean, it's not really a featherweight division, but don't want to have it, but that's a whole other video for another day, but still, and that belt takes a hit if she loses to Peña again. And also, I think this helps Cyborg out. Some people still consider Cyborg the greatest women's fighter, but if Nunes loses twice to Peña, I think the debate gets more intense. There's more of an argument for Cyborg, despite Nunes beating her. Despite that,
no. There is a debate. You want to know why? Because here's the thing: when you watch, like, I to this day, I rewatched the Cyborg versus Nunes fight, and you can't tell me that, oh, Amanda just dominated Cyborg. It was back and forth until Amanda got the best of her on one of the hits. But that's a fight that if you ran back, no one would have complained about that.
We all want to see the rematch. So we never got it, but yeah, because it was back and forth. Amanda got rocked by Cyborg, but Amanda was able to catch her and drop her, and that was, the end. But it was back and forth. Amanda did not dominate Cyborg. It's an excellent point. So yeah, there's still an argument for Cyborg, and I think the argument goes stronger if Amanda someone were to lose Saturday night to Julian Pena. So important legacy fight for Amanda Nunes. Can't wait to see the main event to see what happens. And the pay-per-view starts 10 p.m. Eastern time, and prelims start 8 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN, and the early prelims starts 6 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN Plus. So that's it.
They're back to catering to us Americans.
Yeah. Even though the Long Island card wasn't America, Long Island, but still it was more like European time. But yeah, I get what you mean. Back catering to Americans. Unfortunately, if you're in Europe, you're going to have to stay up late to watch these cards, unfortunately. But hey, can't wait for this pay-per-view. Can't wait to see what happens, and can't wait to break down next week what happens in this pay-per-view card.
Most definitely. I am Shad Dan. Just want to tell you guys, meet the Mets. Meet the Mets. Greet the Mets. We here, baby. Thank you guys so much for joining us. MMA Weekly. What you got to say to that, Austin?
Yeah. Sorry. Like I said, apologize for my voice. And, if you're watching me, you see coughing, just not even feeling well. So, trying to, I'm still getting through this. That, they want you guys at least a show. And hopefully, next week I should feel better. So, can't wait to feel better next week and not deal with this freaking illness because this sucks big time. And, gave them Subway Series in baseball. For those of you who don't know what Chef Dan was talking about, the New York Mets and the New York Yankees are playing right now, and you're just singing the Mets song. And the Mets did beat the Yankees, but let's see tomorrow. What the Yankees chance. I don't know what the Yankees' chance is because Scherzer they got them. They go freaking Armand. I mean, damn.
And Giancarlo's not there right now. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, sucks, but. Yeah, I wouldn't surprise the Yankees win. I would not be shocked. They probably beat the bullpen, but we'll see tomorrow. But thank you guys for watching, supporting us and our MMA show. We appreciate the love and support. Don't forget to check us out on podcast platforms as well. If you want to listen to us on podcasts, we're on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor FM, etc. We appreciate the love and support, and if you want to support us, support us as well. We appreciate the donations as well. They see on the screen here. Definitely support. Thank you guys for the love and support. Where to this channel, where it be Dan the show or my dad when the shows he does, or anyone else. Everyone in this channel love support y'all. We appreciate we appreciate the love support you guys give us. Excuse me. We appreciate the love and support. We thank you guys from the bottom of our hearts, and we'll see you next week. Peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are